The one that got away, a Reddit confession of regret. I'm sitting here, typing this out, knowing that my heart aches for a love that could have been, but never was. I guess I just want to get this off my chest and maybe find some solace in sharing my story. Perhaps someone out there can relate, or at least learn from my stupid mistakes. Let me start from the beginning. Her name was Melissa. We grew up together in the same small town, and even as kids, it was clear that we had a special connection. We spent countless hours laughing, playing, and just enjoying each other's company. It always felt like the stars aligned whenever we were together. I talked about her all the time to my friends and family, and anytime she could invite me to go somewhere with her family, I would go. I would ride my bike to her house on Sunday afternoons, and we would eat strawberries and watch old movies on TV with her parents and her sister. I was in heaven around her. It was like I had known her for 1,000 lifetimes. But life has a cruel sense of humor, and our paths took different turns when her family moved away in the 5th grade. She told me on the bus one day after school, right before we got to her stop. I can still feel that sinking, devastating feeling in my gut when I think about it. I was instantly crushed, but trying to save face, I acted like all was well. The prevailing thought in my head from that day forward was that our days were numbered and that I might not ever see her again. She moved to a nearby town almost immediately. I never really knew why that happened. She was far enough away to make it very inconvenient to get to see her, especially since our parents all worked. I only got to see her one last time before they moved away. She was performing in the school's spring musical. I don't remember much about the event other than her wearing a poodle dress and looking beautiful. I was able to see her for a few minutes afterwards, and we shared a hug, and that was it. They left town and moved several states away. Over the next year or so, we exchanged letters in the mail, but eventually the letters just kind of stopped. Then when I was a freshman, I had a very vivid dream about seeing her. It was a crazy feeling, because it had been years since we had talked or exchanged any letters. I got out the phone book and started calling anyone with the same last name as her in our area. After the 5th phone call or so, I found myself talking with her grandmother. She knew who I was and gladly gave me her phone number. I called it and we began talking again, and the letters and cards began again as well. She sent me some pictures of her, and wow, did she look beautiful. I fell in love with her all over again. We kept up the communication, and a few years later, when we were 16, she came to visit her family back home, and we finally got to see each other again. It was Christmas time, and we planned to go out and see a movie together before going back to her grandmother's house to exchange gifts. It was during the movie that she reached over and took my hand. Yeah, I know. I should have been able to make the first move, but dude, I didn't even know if I was in the real world or if I was having a dream. I had never felt so alive and on fire in my life. I knew that she loved me too, and I was on cloud 17,000. We spent the rest of the evening together, just talking and laughing like we did when we were kids. I can still remember the way the snow sparkled under the streetlights as we walked hand in hand, the warmth of her fingers intertwined with mine. That night, it felt like we were the only two people in the world. Time seemed to stand still, and I knew I was experiencing a moment that would stay with me forever. Before I left her to go home, she walked with me to my truck. We looked deeply into each other's eyes, and I leaned in and kissed her forehead, and then her cheek, and then we shared our first kiss. I could have stayed right there forever. There had never been a more pinnacle moment in my life, and I was the happiest man on earth. But life has a way of moving forward, and Melissa had to leave again. 5 years went by without us seeing each other. Even though that night was so amazing, by nature of the distance between us, we kind of grew apart. In that time, I got engaged to a woman who, in hindsight, wasn't the right fit for me. Melissa was in a serious relationship with a guy who didn't seem to appreciate her. They ended up getting engaged as well. Then finally, just a few months before my wedding, Melissa came back to town for one last visit. I knew I couldn't let this opportunity slip away, so I went to see her, my heart pounding in my chest. We talked for hours, reminiscing about our past and the dreams we used to have. The more we spoke, the more I realized that Melissa wasn't entirely happy with her current relationship. I could see it in her eyes, the longing for something more, something that felt like the magic we had shared that one Christmas night. As the evening wore on, I knew I had a choice to make. I could take the leap and ask her to leave her fiancé, promising that I would do the same, and finally give us a chance to explore the love that had always been there. But fear held me back, and I couldn't bring myself to take that risk. Instead, I let the night in with a bittersweet goodbye, knowing deep down that I had let my one true love slip through my fingers. Years have passed, and we've both moved on. We each have families of our own, and on the surface, it seems like we've found happiness. But every 3 or 4 years, we still reach out to each other, and I can't help but wonder if she feels the same regret that I do. That lingering question haunts me. What if I had taken that leap? Would we be living our lives together, basking in the love that we had denied ourselves for so long? Or would our story have ended in heartbreak, like so many others? When I look at my life now, I can't help but feel that something is missing. My marriage is stable, but it lacks the spark that I once shared with Melissa. The nights we spent together are etched in my memory, as vivid and alive as if they happened yesterday. And I can't help but wonder if she shares those memories, too, as she goes about her life with her own family. Social media has become both a blessing and a curse. It's allowed us to watch each other from a distance, to see the milestones and celebrations that mark the passing years. But every time I catch a glimpse of Melissa's smile, my heart aches with the knowledge that I will never truly know what could have been. Despite the pain, I cling to those stolen moments we shared together. They remind me that true love does exist, even if it's only allowed to flourish in the most fleeting and transient of moments. Deep down, I know that I will always wonder, always question whether I made the right choice that fateful night. I can't turn back the clock and change the past, and I know that the life I've built with my family is one I should be grateful for. But there are nights when I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, and I can't help but think of Melissa. I wonder if she's out there, somewhere, thinking of me, too, and feeling that same sense of loss that I do. May we meet again in the next life, and may I be strong enough to not make the same mistake again. I can't take one more life with the heartache I continue to carry in this one. Wow, that was heavy. I truly feel bad for this guy and can almost feel his regret and heartache as I am reading his words. What do you all think? What advice or encouragement would you give this guy? Let everyone know in the comments section below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.